I pressed record, there's no turning back. Hey everybody, and welcome back to me. Welcome to me. Hi. I barely prepped for this video. The only reason I'm filming it is because I have a reputation. A bad one. This reputation involves the schedule with which I upload my wrap-ups, which is normally like a month to 2 months late. Okay? If you hear any farting noises, I'm not like farting, okay? I'm like sitting on the floor and my feet are like rubbing against the floor, okay? I feel like this is a disclaimer that I should put before every single video of mine, because every time I edit it, it sounds like I'm fucking like on the verge of taking a shit on the floor, and it's just not the case, okay? So I'm gonna make this clear to make my future editing self have a less hard time. My feet are rubbing on the floor, okay? So today I'm doing my January wrap-up. Hurrah, nothing special. I fucking hate making wrap-ups. Alright, I'm ready. Let's do this. So, the first... Man, I started this year off with a bang. Okay, so the first book I'm gonna tell you about is one that I'm gonna try to keep my voice down because people in this house, and I'm putting this on the internet, so I should be able to talk about this out loud. Fuck it. Anyway, the first book I read this month was Smut. And that book is called... Not me in my 20s struggling to say this. Anyway, so this book is called The Art of Mutual Pleasure by K.A. American. I discovered this book on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. It's at McKay Books. I'm gonna just write that down over here. So apparently this author, K.A. American, isn't a real person. Apparently this is a group of people that get together and write pornography. And I don't know if a bunch of people worked on this book or if they just write under the same name but write their own books for that one name. Either way, the story of this book, I literally took down notes because I don't even know how to explain. So basically we follow this guy and the book opens up with him in like some boarding school or something. Let me scooch up real close because I don't want to be heard. Okay, so bitch, here's the tea. He goes to like this boarding school, right? And in the boarding school, he has this crush on this guy, and like one night he spies on the guy and the guy is like f***ing another guy, and he starts to while watching them. And basically, I think this is like set in like the Regency era when there was like shame and things, and so he splooges. I'm gonna just call it splooge, okay? He splooges, and he's all guilty and shit, and he was taught by this school of his that if you bring yourself to splooge with your own hand, you lose like your manly essence and shit like that. So he felt like he was getting weak, he felt like he was like losing his manly essence and shit like that. I'm not spoiling the whole book, okay? This is just like the premise. And so when he gets older, he goes to this like quack doctor, and the doctor tells him like, hello, you are losing your manliness, so in order to gain your manliness back, you need to ingest splooge from your mouth and your... So the whole book is like a series of him finding ways to... I fucking hate myself. Finding ways to like acquire pearls, white ribbons, splooge, baby gravy, you name it. You name it, he wants it. I don't even know what to say. It was just like one what the f after another, and by the end I was just like, what am I reading? Then words escape me. My brain doesn't even have the amount of mental bandwidth to process this f***ery. Either way, I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it was not good, but it was certainly very entertaining and creative, and I don't think I will ever read anything like this book in the future. There was a scene where splooge was described in such graphic detail that I fucking felt myself like dry retch. Wonderful way to start the year. Anyway. Alright, I can back up a bit now and just... Anyway, so the next book I read, my lovely people, is Dark Water by Koji Suzuki. And this book is basically a Japanese book that was translated to English, and it's several short stories, all of which cater to different types of horror readers. We have a running theme, and that running theme is water. And basically water is used to symbolize things you need in order to live. So basically you have some stories about one's career, one's family, stories about love. Water is used to symbolize all these things you need in order to thrive in life. What makes this scary is that it shows how these things can be corrupted if you take them in excess, or just how they can be corrupted in general. And this book explores that theme with supernatural vibes, and it's really, really good. Also, one more thing, if you have like a fear of swimming in water and having things touch you from deep beneath, bitch, this book is for you. So the next book I read is one that was adapted to film, and that is The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante. Look at me breaking out into anxiety hives. I love that for me. Summarizing that first book in a house full of other people really fucking did it, man. Anyway, so we follow this woman named Leda, I think, and she is a middle-aged divorcee, and she's vacationing in this seaside coastal town. She is an intellectual, she's very sophisticated, but there's something very off about her. She is very snide and very sarcastic and very unable to pick up on general social cues. From the beginning, you know that something is very off with this woman. And one day, she is at the beach, and this other family arrives, and they're very boisterous, they're very loud, and she decides that she has had enough with these fucking people, inconsiderate, being loud in the beach. But then she spies this one young woman, and her seeing this young woman inspires various flashbacks to start happening. She remembers what her life was like as a young mom, and these all come in very wispy, dreamlike interludes. And these flashbacks give us a glimpse into the complex things that this book addresses. Things like having a child versus having a career, how you balance the two of them, how suffocating it gets, and ultimately the physical, emotional, and psychological impact that, you know, choosing to take on motherhood has on women. Yes, there are sporadic joys here and there, but there's also a lot of darkness, and the fact that this book chooses to show that it's not this happy, lovely, glowing thing. You know, many movies and books sell notions such as those to us very shamelessly. This book chooses to do something else, and it's really good. I gave it 4 stars. However, the movie, I gave it 5 stars. I think this is one of those cases where the movie is better than the book. So the next book I read this month is Moon of the Crested Snow, and I also read this for Winterween. I have a dedicated vlog to it, which I'm gonna link down below. We basically follow several people on this Native American reserve. So they're going about their life, and the power goes out, and several things happen to make them suspect that the apocalypse has befallen them. And so people start to get increasingly paranoid, and one day a stranger shows up. And the stranger is a white man. And he comes in, he's promising all these, you know, grandiose things. He is undermining all the established rules that they live by in the reserve and that they have told him to adhere to. But he's like, fuck that, I'm gonna do what I want. He pushes all the boundaries, he's a complete jerk. So this book ultimately is a metaphor for colonization and all that that implies. You know, things including the theft of land, of forced assimilation, the destruction and undermining of tradition and culture and history. And it shows various methods of how colonization happens, from the sowing of paranoia to dividing people up, making them fight one another, making them paranoid about their fellow man, sowing distrust, all while promising amazing things so people turn to you for the answer, causing the problem and then presenting yourself as the solution. I really loved the message. I loved the story. I thought it was really, really good. I gave this book 4 stars because the second act slowed down just like a little bit, but overall, really good. Vlogged it, great stuff. Highly recommended, short and effective. Alright, so the next book I read is a book called Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and I read this for a live show with my book club, and I stupidly picked it thinking that it would be a fun read, despite the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of this author's other work that was actually my very first drunk review on this channel. So Reckless Girls. Basically, we follow this woman named Lux. She's working in this place. She's with her boyfriend. The boyfriend owns a yacht, and these two ladies basically hire the boyfriend and her to take them to this deserted island. And on the island, they meet this other strange couple, and drama and tension ensues. It is a thriller, and it's a very realistic thriller because when you bring a bunch of dubious, attractive strangers with alcohol to a deserted island, the inevitable conclusion is fucking death, right? I mean, despite that, this book did the one thing that so many mainstream thrillers have done in the past years that have turned me off from mainstream thrillers for the most part, and that is it played it so safe. This book could have had so much more danger, but instead it just went through the beats of this person does that thing, this person does this thing, they're attractive, so put two and two together. For instance, all these people could have been like bisexual and one drink away from an orgy. Straight up. But yeah, what you think is gonna happen in this book is pretty much what happens. So yeah, 3 stars, nothing particularly special. So the next book I read was actually an arc, an e-arc that was given to me personally by the author, and that is For the Sake of by Judith Sonnet, and this was sold to me as an extreme horror book, which we love, which I love. I have a whole series on my channel reading books of that nature, and this book did not disappoint. I'm gonna go as far as to say that this is probably the best book that's ever been given to me for review purposes. Like, this is the best arc I've ever read so far. No arc that's been given to me by an author personally has been this fucking good, and I loved it. I don't want to give too much of this story away. We basically follow this woman who is being subjected to degrading acts in order to save her daughter because her daughter has been kidnapped, and in order to save the daughter, the kidnapper is making her do these challenges that are very grotesque and horrific. But yeah, this book had so much that I loved. The opening scene was amazing. The pacing is very economical. Things happen just when they need to happen. The gore is really good. The prose, okay, the way that this author describes this shit in such fucking detail is amazing. I was like digging my nails into my knees, just like fucking scared, and it was so good. All my Summer I Died people, check this out. Trust me, check this out. Alright, so the next book I read is Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valente, and this is a book about this woman who wakes up in this seemingly perfect town, in this perfect place, in this perfect house, and she begins to realize that happiness is like programmed into her and that she can't say or feel anything else. And strange, bizarre, eerie things begin to start happening. I'm gonna probably have a very unpopular opinion on this book. So this book is very metaphorical and allegorical, but the thing with metaphors and the thing with allegory is that it needs to be baked into a story that stands on its own, and this book just does not at all. This book reads like a bizarre sequence of scenes that just like don't connect to one another. The twist at the end of this book gave me flashbacks to reading Behind Her Eyes, a book I fucking hated so much. I literally just like can't with that book, okay? No structure, no characters, no depth of setting. It's literally like the kinds of films that Jean-Luc Godard would make at the end of his career. Like, you know, he started off with Breathless, and then he went into like Goodbye to Language territory, and it just completely went off the rails. As far as unsettling horror goes, just stuff like this just isn't what I'm looking for. And yes, I must acknowledge that the book is saying something important, that there is a strong central message here. You can agree with a book's message. That doesn't mean you should like the book, and I do not like this book at all. It's like going to a fancy restaurant and being served like really bad food. That's what reading this book was like. And it's like when all you have going for you is your message, it is bad. And I gave this book 1 star. This is literally a contender for worst book of the year. Beyond the message, I didn't enjoy anything in this book. I have smart friends that do love it, so perhaps look at their reviews if you are deciding to spend money on this. But if you tend to like what I like and my brand of horror, just don't read this. Okay, so the next book I read is Break My Shell, and this is from the same author that wrote the smutty book at the beginning. We basically follow this guy. He's shy, he's timid, he works in this conservative town, and he is doing a pen pal correspondence thing with this guy who's in jail, and eventually the guy gets released and they hit it up. It's cute, it's fine, some good messages here and there, and it does get very emotionally resonant towards the end. I mean, yeah, as far as smut goes, there is a significant emphasis on, you know, the feelings and stuff like that. It was cute, it was fine, yeah. Anyway, the next book I read, and this was a buddy read with my friend Gabby from Gabby Reads, Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Book 1. I don't even know what to say about this book. I did a full vlog on this book, okay? This is the vlog. I'm gonna link it down below. Backstory, I filmed the whole thing on 0 hours of sleep. And it was a time. It was a fun time. I honestly get like traumatizing flashbacks when I rewatch that vlog. I thought that vlog was gonna bomb because it was a hot mess. For like 5 days, I didn't edit it. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to acknowledge its existence. So the fact that it did pretty decently was fun. Anyway, about the book. So we follow this woman who gets kidnapped by these aliens, and she gets dropped on this planet, and there are ice planet barbarians, and yeah. It was really funny. It was like watching a scary movie parody of this kind of thing. There was tons of smut. I had a lot to say about it, so do watch that vlog if you have the time, if you're interested. Link down below, okay? Next. So the final book I read this month is Offseason by Jack Ketchum, and this was a book that people were heavily recommending to me because they know that I love reading books about cannibalism, and apparently this is one of like the big, most known titles in that specific subcategory of horror. We basically follow this woman named Carla. She rents this vacation house, and she is an editor, and she wants to work on her latest project in this house, and alongside her are her sister, her sister's boyfriend, her current fuck buddy, and this other couple. This book spent so much time giving us the tea on these people that I was getting flashbacks to nothing but blackened teeth. If you have seen my worst books of the year list or my recent wrap up, you know that I despise that book. And I was so fucking disappointed in Offseason. I can't believe I'm saying this because trust me, I went into this book determined to like it. So the fact that I was just lukewarm at best by the end of this book was just so heartbreaking. Yes, it does get gnarly towards the end. The third act is everything I wanted this book to be, but the slog getting there, not worth it. If you're a genre completist, perhaps you'd find something here, but if you have enjoyed the books that I recommended in my Disturbing Books vlog, I wouldn't recommend this book to you. And it's written from the third person point of view. We cut back and forth from the points of view of different people, and there is major narrative whiplash. It was so annoying. I didn't care about the characters. I got so pissed whenever we'd cut to the point of view of the cops and the detectives and the law enforcement because it was so boring. Despite an amazing third act, for a book to be so freaking boring for like 70% of it is just not forgivable to me. Anyway, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. Like and comment and subscribe. I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope to see you in future videos. And as always, take care. I lose myself in this city now.